Hey ho, I'm David Boles and this is Boles.tv. Hey, it's Boles.television. Coming to you live from the East Coast of the United States of America. Now you can see my bright, beautiful face today. Last time we were together, I looked very tan, only because it was very dark in here. And the reason is I'm now wearing my black shirt. When I was wearing my powder blue, baby blue, robin egg blue, Columbia University in the City of New York t-shirt, I guess all the light went on the blue shirt and the rest of the house. Oh, I forgot to turn on my lights. Blew me out and went dark. So now I'm putting this up so I can go turn on my lights because no one wants to see what I have to do and how I have to bend over to turn on my lights. This is the price of fun. And we have fun here on Boles.television. It's Boles.tv. Coming to you again live in 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and meow back. Hey, look, lights. Got a purple light over here. Purple light over here. Got a green flashing light. It flashes 9 different ways, by the way. That's the first one because I was in a hurry. And then we have our regular old amber lights over here. Now, I noticed something interesting. When I was setting up, let me just be rude here. Go to this. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm moving out of frame. I noticed that there was something about captions being available. And I don't know if it's true. Because when I went to turn on the stream so I can make sure I'm live, the Chrome browser said, hey, you know, we have this new feature. Look at it right now. Saying if you turn this on, we will turn on captions. Now, usually we have captions, but our captions don't really show up like in Chrome browser. Hey, you know, we have this new feature. That's me talking to myself. So if I turn this on, turn on live captioning, English cast to a device. So it doesn't look like we have live captions. But according to the settings, we should have live captions. But I don't think it's working. But that was interesting. Because I started up the browser on Chrome and it got a notification from YouTube saying, hey, do you want to turn on live captions? English only. Okay. Well, we are broadcasting with captions. I can tell you that right now. Through our software. But for some reason, they don't show up until later. When YouTube, I guess, does their own version of captioning, which I admit is 100% better than the captioning that we used to do through here and then put on Twitch. The captions took up half the screen. They were live, but not always understandable. It didn't look great. And then one thing I discovered today is if you watch this on the stream on Apple TV and the YouTube app, you can turn on some kind of like nerd statistics. And it's very interesting. Latency, what's happening when and why. And I'm being rude again because now I'm going to take a picture of it so I can show it to you later on our Discord server. So this is going to be interesting as I become rude. I can't find my camera. Hey, nothing like a pro in this house, huh? Okay, so there's me looking at the screen. I'm looking at myself. Look up, young man. Look up, young man. Meow. Meow. There I am. Oh, I looked. I missed myself. Hello. Hey. Now I gotta wait for that to show up. Take a picture there. And then I'll put this on Discord and I'll put this on our Mastodon account and you can see what in the world I'm talking about with these streaming facts that I didn't even know existed. There. Okay, there I'm smiling. Take my picture. Take my picture again. Yes. Okay, I know none of this is making any sense. But that's okay. That's why we're here. To make sense of a world that doesn't make sense. So our automatic captions don't appear to be working, even though YouTube told us to turn them on. But we do have nerd statistics. I should take a picture of that screen too, because that is really cool. Now, how did I get there? Okay, so I go here. No. Oh, now I put myself in pause. Up, down, all around. Okay, I know this is super interesting. It's not letting me do it. But believe me, it's called Statistics for Nerds, and you click on the live stream on your Apple TV. And, it's not letting me do it because I'm live, I guess. And you can turn on the nerd stuff, which is really very fun because I'm a nerdy kind of guy. But you never know it was there. The reason I found the statistics for nerds, excuse me, is because I was trying to see if I could turn on the closed captions on the Apple TV. Because the Chrome browser, made by the Google, says, hey, you can get live captions on your live stream, but they don't appear to be here. But we're trying, right? Right? So what else is going on in the news today? Oh boy, who's asking? I am. When we were last together, we had a long rant about Jim Jordan trying to become Speaker of the House and how absolutely ridiculous it is that a man like that, with a background like that, with a lack of moral character like that, would be nominated by his own party to be third in line for the presidency of these United States. Well, we have to be thankful for some things, small miracles, I suppose. Because there are about 10, 20 Republicans who said, I'm not voting for that. So according to the news, Jim Jordan is not going to force a third vote and endorses empowering a temporary speaker. So this is Jim Jordan, nasty, awful person. Proud of it. As they say on television, he's built nothing, never sponsored a bill, never built a coalition. All he does is make fun of people and mock them. But what I find interesting about this is, okay, so the Republicans can't seem to elect anybody. They have nobody in their caucus that they want to be Speaker of the House, I guess. Okay? Doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is, as the kids say. So, okay, now what? Well, it appears that the new idea is to empower this temporary speaker, Patrick McHenry. Now, this is even more insane than Jim Jordan possibly being Speaker of the House. Oh, hey. Hello, we have someone here joining us today. Hello, thank you for joining us. Wonderful to have you here. A new friend is in our chat saying, good morning from Prince of Wales Island, Alaska. How fantastic. I simply love it. That is delightful. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry, when I get on a rant, I don't pay attention, which is a big mistake. So I've got to move this up so I can see my lovely messages from my new friends. And now I've lost it all. which is nothing new. Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I love that so much. And there I am, frozen in time. Oh,
Right now.
saying if you turn this on. Oh, I'm talking to myself. Oh, it's been an interesting day so far. So I move this up just a little bit more. Okay, good. So here we go. If you can't pick a speaker, and if you're so out of control that, one person can ruin it for everybody, why would you pick a temporary person that has no power to be speaker, but you're going to give them some of the powers to be speaker on a temporary basis? Now they're saying for the rest of the year, Mr. Jordan will endorse a plan, that enables Representative Patrick McHenry, the temporary speaker, to carry out the chamber's work through January 3rd. Now, why? Why go to all this trouble to temporarily put someone in a position if you want them to be the temporary Speaker of the House for 4 months? Why not just make them Speaker of the House? Hey, our friend is back. Pixie Stitch. I can't remember how I found your channel, but I really like your voice. Thank you very much. You've been in radio or television because you definitely have a professional voice for it. Well, let's get rid of this and talk to our friend in Alaska. Why, yes, I do have experience in radio and television. We host the Human Meme podcast, humanmeme.com, which is now, believe it or not, generally hosted by my AI self. What do you mean? My voice has been cloned by me. I took several of my old podcast episodes and uploaded them online and had a clone of my voice created so that I can be in 12 places at the same time. I can be here with you, while my AI voice, which sounds alarmingly like me, is creating podcasts. Because when you create a podcast, I would get up at 4:30 in the morning on a Sunday to record, a 10, 15-minute original podcast, just myself speaking to myself. And then I go in and severely edit out all the breaths and all the ums and all the ahs until I had a perfectly clean and pristine show. And you might wonder, what's wrong with you? Why would you get up at 4:30 in the morning? Well, because the rest of the apartment building is quiet. Now, we live in a very nice, big apartment building, but there are still noises that get picked up by a microphone. Right this way from me, about 3 feet from me, is the elevator bank. So as elevators go up and down, they whoosh and roar as they go by, and it makes sounds. So at 4:30 in the morning, the elevators are not very busy, and if they are, you wait till they go by, you pause, you go in, you edit that out. Our Pixie Stitch friend says, oh, that's interesting. At least you're cloning yourself. Getting out ahead of other people doing it. Yes. And we have a slight delay here because we're live. So you're typing things and then I'm responding to you. And then it looks like I'm, being rude and responding to you when you see this like 30 seconds later. But that's just the way it is with live streaming. So if it seems like we're disconnected by reason and default. It's all okay. And I used to do a daily podcast when we lived in our other apartment, which was even worse and louder and noisier, but my office was in the basement of the building. So there were no outside environmental sounds that were interfering. So I could, record any time and it would be a clean recording. And then we moved to a very expensive apartment. It's very noisy, but in a different way. It's mechanical noises, not people noises, because the people noises are very quiet because it's a new building and we have 8 inches of cinder block between each apartment for not noise reduction, but for fire safety, which is something I didn't know until we moved here. So now I can write my podcast that's scripted and then have my fake self, my AI voice self, speak aloud that script without any intervention from me, and it's very clean, it's very calm, and it sounds really good. It sounds just like me. But in the interest of transparency and fairness, I say, hello, this is AI David Boles. I initially called myself Atomic Dave, I think, which was a little silly but fun. So they know, if they're paying attention, if they care, that it's not really me live, it's my AI voice reading text. And then sometimes I do a little bit of research with AI too, so it's like becoming an AI podcast. And I always thank my AI research team, which is usually Microsoft, Bing, ChatGPT, Claude AI, Bard from Google. You just ask all of them sort of the same question on the same topic. And then you get everybody together and you create the podcast script. Our Pixie friend says, makes sense to me. Noise pollution is a real thing. It really is. And you can't get rid of it very easily. No, you're fine. Not being rude at all. I understand the lag. Thank you so much. So another thing I've discovered with this voice AI stuff. Oh, that is smart. Who haven't wanted to clone and go to work at some point. Well, that's where we're going with this cloning stuff. It's very interesting. And like him or not, and I don't like him, Elon Musk has this whole idea of, I guess, somehow visualizing, dataizing the soul, the spirit, the intellect of a person, downloading it somehow through a neural network brain implant, and then putting it out into the internet so you can be immortal and live forever. That's one of his ideas, and it's very interesting. And so my voice right now, theoretically, is if I died tomorrow, my podcast could continue. Someone writes it, AI writes it, voice translates it, puts it out, and I'm still here. Now, this brings up another very interesting topic. Resurrecting the dead through AI. And I admit I've done it, and I'm very happy that I have done it. One of my old mentors, the delightful Dr. Howard Stein, wrote a lot of articles for my blog. And he also would regularly call me. We would speak on the phone like once or twice a week. And when he inevitably missed me, he would leave voice messages for me. And sometimes they were, a minute or two because we were working on an article where he was telling me a story. So he was being very specific. And he was just him speaking to me. It was very natural. So when he died several years ago, I was very lucky to discover that Google Voice, when someone leaves you a voice message, saves that message as an audio file. And I thought, wait a minute. So I downloaded, I think it was 12 that I had saved, 12 voicemail messages from Howard. And I saved them, published them on SoundCloud, made a little, clip file. And people could go back and listen to the messages that Howard Stein left me. You go to bolesblogs.com right now and look in the sidebar, you can see that original 12 voicemail messages that were left for me. And then after I cloned my voice, I thought, oh no, wait a minute. Now, this could be very interesting because cloning my voice was a professional clone. I had to submit 3 hours of audio files to get a super realistic impression of me from the AI voice team. And the waiting time is about 3 weeks for it to be processed. So it's a thing. But you can also do a quick voice clone where you upload about 5 minutes of someone speaking, and the clone software will clone that voice as well. It's probably not as varietal in tone and purpose, but it's good enough. So I thought to myself, now I have 30 voice clones I can make. What would happen if I uploaded all these Howard Stein voicemails and cloned them? And I did. And wow! Howard Stein is back alive. And I can type things, say, hi, this is Howard. I'm watching the football game with my best friend David Boles, and I can make him speak through me, things he didn't say. Our Pixie Stitch friend also comments how interesting technology has gotten and how far it's advanced in just the last decade. How did it feel hearing your mentor speaking again? It was very, very odd and very weird. And so what I then did, and if you go to humanmeme.com, you can see all the recent podcast published episodes that start with AI Howard Stein and then the name of the article that he's reading. So that's what I did, as I went back into the 10 or so articles, long-form articles. He also wrote silly poems and crazy things, and I've learned AI voice doesn't really read poetry very well. But long-form stuff's in paragraphs, it reads very well. And I went through all of his old articles that have been published 10, 20 years ago with me, and I ran them through the AI voice, wrote a new little introduction. I'm AI Howard Stein. I died 20 years ago, but I'm reading this article that I wrote for David Boles blogs. Boom. And then Howard, the AI Howard, reads his article that he wrote while he was alive, and he's reading it now, dead from the grave. Now, I'm sure some people find that offensive. How dare you? You're resurrecting a dead person without their permission. I don't care. First of all, Howard was very forward-thinking. He was involved with the theater. He taught us theater. Always break the rules, bend every law you can, as long as you can, get away with it. You're not going to hurt anybody. Well, you can't hurt a dead person. And so Howard, I know, gave me permission to use his writing, his voice, his image in any way I liked because he trusted me. And trust me, listening to Howard, AI Howard, read his own words is truly a fantastic experience. And especially, see, when I clone my voice, it's very professional sounding. You can go in, I wrote a thing about Willa Cather that published yesterday. It's very formal, it's very strict, meow, like a narrator, right? Howard's is not like that. Howard is breathing, Howard is coughing, he's saying, well, he's being informal with me. And so his voice clone is also very informal. So when the AI voice reads his script, he's humming, he's hemming, he's hawing, he's breathing heavy because he was, at that time, very old and had heart problems, so sometimes he'd have breathing problems. And all of that was incorporated into what is now his fake live AI voice. And it's absolutely fearful, stunning technology, because how easy can you hurt someone with this? And they've done this already to Barack Obama, where people have cloned his voice and made him say terrible things. Our Pixie Stitch friend also comments, hey, I was thinking about what it would feel like hearing my grandparents' voices again, or a few friends that have passed. I'm sure I would get emotional at first. It is a very eerie, uncanny feeling. And I say go for it. If you have them, if you have 30 seconds of their voice that's sort of clean, go for it. It's an experience you will not soon forget. So as Howard reads his articles, it's like he's talking to you. He's not reading. His writing is very formal because he was a PhD, a professor. So when he writes something, he's not being colloquial. But when he reads it, he is being conversational, and it's beautiful. Now, the other side of that is my other friend and mentor, Marshall Jameson, who probably wrote 50 poems for me and maybe like 5 paragraph articles. Well, and Marshall was an announcer from the old school Broadway, 50s and 60s. Deep, very forceful voice. And I had an audio recording of a sort of little movie that he made when he first moved to Nebraska from New York as an old man. And he was narrating it, and it was very straightforward, dramatic, interesting, but it also had a lot of music in it. And I was trying to think, what can I do to clone Marshall's voice so I can have him, like Howard, read his old articles, but I have this music and it sounds terrible. So I, did a little search through my AI research friends and found a service. And all this service does is you upload a file and it separates speech, a vocal, from background music, accompanied music. Now, most people, I think, use that service like if they're in a band and they want to split the track. They just want a vocal track that's clean and they want the rest of the music in a second track. So you could either sing to the musical track or put in a new voice. But it also works when you have a guy's voice narrating a movie, a 10-minute little movie, where you have background music that you don't want because you only want his voice so you can clone it. So I uploaded it and almost immediately got back the file. And you get back 2 files. You get back the music file and you get back the voice file. And it was 90% there. Marshall's voice was very strong, very clean. Now, this was an outdoor movie about nature and him meeting himself as a boy. So all the music was gone, but there were chirping birds for some reason, just faintly in the background. And if you're annoying like me and you have, I've been accused of having OCD like me, the little chirps in the background are not acceptable. Because you don't want Marshall reading something with an AI voice with birds in the background. So I ran it through again. It didn't make any difference. I put it into Adobe Audition. It didn't seem to make any difference. So I thought, okay, well, I have, him speaking for, after I edited out, because if there wasn't music, it was just a blank space in the audio file. So I had to edit out the blank space, edit out, there were a couple of other characters in it who were kids, and I didn't want their voice being cloned. So when I cut it all down, it was about 5 minutes, which was how much I needed to clone his voice. But the birds were still there, just very faintly. So I said, okay, let's just clone the voice and see what happens. So I cloned the voice, listened to a little sample, and for some reason, by the grace of the AI gods above me, the bird chirping was gone. Somehow the AI voice cloning process said, okay, birds are not a voice. We're going to separate that somehow and just keep Marshall's voice. And they did. And I typed a little test, and it was magnificent. Now, this is, when you listen to his AI voice, it's very formal, very rough, very straightforward and direct. It's not, hey, David, it's Howard. This is, I'm Marshall Jameson. and this is the news. So then I did what I did for Howard. I went back, found Marshall's articles, had AI, Marshall Jameson, read his own article. So all those blog posts have now been updated. I don't want to say edited, but they've been updated with those AI voices from the Human Meme podcast. So I have them read their article. I download the file. I upload the audio file to the Human Meme podcast portal, publish it as a podcast episode. Because once it's published as a podcast episode, I can very easily embed that file, them reading their own work, in their article. I know this is all sounding very confusing, so I wonder if I can find an example of this. So let me see if I can find one. I might have to go to a different way. Let's see. That's not the right one. But I know what to do now. Uh-oh. Something just happened. I don't know what I did. So I go to Howard Stein. I go to View. So here's an example from Howard. I don't know if we'll be able to hear this very well. I'll have to turn up the sound and go here. So now I have to show you what I'm looking at. So this is Howard's original article. Dr. Howard Stein on why playwrights must experiment with the audience. So this is the embedded Howard Stein. And I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I'll turn up the sound and see the microphone should pick up it.
Hi again and welcome. I'm Howard Stein. Well, I really am AI Howard Stein, and this is the Human Meme podcast. Today, I'll share with you my ideas on why playwrights must experiment with the audience, originally presented in 2000 at the Southwest Theatre Conference. Oh, and I'm not really Howard Stein because I died at 90 years old on October 12th, 2012. But through the magical dust of AI voice, I am now able to read aloud for you the writing I originally submitted to David Boles' blogs all those years ago. Why playwrights must experiment with the audience. In Robert Aulet's play, Alberta Radiance, Alberta speaks the opening like, I have this human life to live, and I don't know what to do with it. The operative word is human, as in the human condition, the human predicament, or the human comedy.
Okay, so there you go. That's how it sounds. It's beautiful and it's real. Now, Howard had a lot of background noise even after his voice cloning because it was, a voicemail. So after it was done being cloned and downloaded, then I would go into Adobe Audition and do a noise removal, and it did a beautiful job. Hey, our friend said, Pixie Stitch, pretty amazing, of course. A lot of coverage of the harmful aspects of voice cloning in the media. But I think it is good that it can be done with the tech as well, and definitely worth the experimentation. I would never have known that was AI unless told. Well, that's the whole thing. That's the scary part. You sort of have to tell people, look, this is AI. Now, people who know Howard will say, wait a minute, he's been dead for 20 years. How can he be reading his article? So you sort of have to explain that a little bit. And, I could have new articles by Howard, or I could have him, saying wonderful things about me or terrible things about me that aren't true. But that bothers me from a moral point of view. Just like Marshall. I could have Marshall narrate something for me, and maybe I would do that if I, made it clear up front. But to have him say something nasty or immoral or something that I know goes against what he believes in might tempt some people. But for me, I don't think that's right. So right now, I'm at the point where these fake voices of dead people are only reading things that they wrote when they were alive. Now, there's got to be a Marshall Jameson one around here because that's a totally different experience entirely, and I'm going to see if I can find it. And then I'll play you a little. While we're doing that, I'll play you a human meme one that I did about Willa Cather, okay? So this is AI me voice talking about Willa Cather.
Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm AI David Boles, and with the help of our crack AI research team, we will endeavor to discover today the hidden life of Willa Cather, to learn why it was so important to our good daughter of Red Cloud, Nebraska, to keep her true passions and identities hidden from her family, herself, and her avid readers. Willa Cather, 1873-1947, an eminent American novelist, remains a figure whose private life has been the subject of considerable speculation, particularly concerning her sexual orientation and relationships. She was notably private about her personal affairs, even burning her own letters and asking friends to do the same. While she never openly declared her sexual orientation, scholars have probed the nature of her close relationships with women such as Edith Lewis, with whom she lived for many years. The secrecy, or more precisely, the ambivalence she exhibited toward her own personal life, however, can be understood as a form of self-preservation during a time when non-heteronormative relationships were socially stigmatized. Apart from her sexual orientation, Cather also kept her artistic ambitions relatively concealed, particularly in her early life. Raised in a family that held traditional views, she initially trained for a career in science, before finally relenting to her passion.
Okay, so that's enough of that. That's me reading about the life of Willa Cather. Now I'll just show you my little example of Marshall Jameson, because it's a totally different style from me, a totally different style from Howard, but it's still Marshall. And our pixie friend says, yes, there are moral implications, but in the right hands can be done respectfully. It's the wrong people having access that is scary. Absolutely. And the deep fake videos, which are really going to be coming, are going to be even more terrifying. Because like in the movies, in real life, they can, make you create a murder. Right now, they can take your voice and, have you call in some kind of terrible threat to a city. And are they going to believe you or are they going to believe your voice? Scary stuff. So this is Marshall Jameson. It's his photograph. Too late for thanks to partial recall, part 1. So give you a little taste of Marshall, and you won't hear any birds singing because I took care of it.
Hello again to you. It is wonderful to be with you. My name is Marshall Jameson, and I am an AI voice clone of the actual Marshall Jameson. I left this mortal coil September 2nd, 2003, at the age of 85. Through the magic of AI glitter, I am once again able to share my writing with you as it first appeared online in David Boles' blogs. Too late for thanks. A partial recall, part 1. As a small boy growing up in historic Cambridge, Massachusetts, my first hero was the old man who lived next door and told me stories. On clear days, he would be out early in the morning to watch his son run up the flag on the tall flagpole that stood in his blossom-filled garden.
Beautiful. It's just really freaky to sit here and hear Howard speaking to me alive again and Marshall. I was thinking, how magnificent would it be, if you were a grandchild and you could have a grandpa, a great-grandpa, saying wonderful, nice things to you in a whole new audio file or eventually in video. It will be absolutely freaky. And this is why the writers, the actors, all go on strike because of this kind of technology. They are terrified of it. Their voices can be cloned. Their faces can be cloned. And I say, there's going to come a time where we don't need new actors anymore. We can just create them. We can have AI versions of Humphrey Bogart and Marilyn Monroe, not just them resurrected, but let's say they had a child, and you take pieces of each of them and make a whole new character that's completely virtual and has no real life. Who needs an actor from the Midwest? You just create them all and they're clones. So they got a really good deal, the writers did, this time. We'll see in 10 years if there is a writers' guild anymore. Hey, Pixie Stitch says, it really does sound great. I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts. I wonder how many jobs will be left open to real people in the next few years. That's a very good point. And the really good, voices, those people are already cloning their voices. And in this service that I'm on with my voice, you can have other people use your voice and you sort of get paid for it in that you get more time to create more voice time on your account. Exactly. Our friend Pixie says. So that's very interesting because right now it's very expensive to clone a voice. But over the last 3 months, the prices for some services have come way down. It's very affordable. And with ChatGPT now doing images, I assume they're going to very quickly start getting into voice cloning as well because that's the next big thing. But getting a good voice clone that sounds right with the correct emotion is very difficult to do. And I like the Howard Stein one best. I think Marshall's is very good. It's slightly muddy because the audio was not recorded very well. But there were a couple of sighs and inhales from Marshall's that I don't have in mind because I would go in there and edit all of that out. Now, I probably should train my next voice on audio. Maybe I should. Audio from this live stream. That could be very interesting, maybe, because this is me speaking and yelling and inhaling and coughing and laughing. That's a hard thing to get on AI voice, is someone laughing, if they're not laughing in the voice sample. Now, you can write ha, ha, ha in your script, in your text, TTS, text-to-speech, and then the AI audio renderer will render that ha, 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 just like that, which sounds very fake and very phony, and if you're trying to be genuine. But in playing just that little piece of Marshall Jameson, there were a few breaths in and out that sounded very natural. It's very good. I liked it a lot. My AI voice tends to be more straightforward. But I realize now I can go in there and do a clone of my voice, a 30-second clone, a 5-minute clone of my voice, that might make it a little more colloquial for some situations. That could be fun. It won't sound as good as the professional voice that I had cloned that took 3 weeks. And you can only have, in this service, one of those. You can start up a second account, but who wants that? If you want a second professional voice clone. It's very strange what they allow and what they don't allow, but it's all very new, very young. And 6 months ago, none of this was really happening. And if it was happening, they were charging you $1,000 a month. Now, a really good company is charging you $20 a month. But you have a certain amount of characters, some go by words, some go by characters, a month that you can use. So if you're making a lot of recordings like I am, it makes sense to let other people use your voice, because when they use your voice in their stuff, you get those characters added back to your account. I haven't done that because I don't care about that. Hey, Pixie Stitch also says, I've noticed even on YouTube, some of the ads recently have cloned voices like Jordan Peterson, or, I can't read that, I'm very old, Chebiyamu does popular medical type videos selling those medical secret quackery snake oil stuff. Yeah, that's exactly right. And see, that's a little bit of a problem. Because if you have someone who wants to make money off your voice, or someone who doesn't like you, all they have to do is find a clean recording of your voice, go to one of these services, upload your voice, say, yeah, I have the right to it, and then they have your voice, and they can do whatever they want to with it. And no one can really stop them. Now, if you find out about it, you can go and do a DMCA takedown notice and hope that they'll leave you alone and that they'll take it down. But that takes time. So if you want a famous person to, sell your terrible MLM stuff, who's going to stop you? Nobody's going to stop you. You might get cut off, but once you clone the voice and download it, it's saying what you want to say, you have the file, you can do whatever you want to with it, wherever you want to. And do people know where a voice clone file originates? I'm hoping there is some sort of invisible watermark that can be deciphered in these fake voices. I'm not sure if it's true, but I hope it's true. So, like, the police, the FBI can, listen to the file or the threat that you made and say, oh, okay, this is not a real voice. There are AI artifacts in the file that identify it as a clone voice. I should really go in the forums and ask about that, because that could be very interesting. They probably wouldn't tell you, though, because they don't want you to know what protections they have in place. But I think they should. Look, you can't, download someone's voice and go make a threat, because we're going to figure it out and we're going to tell the police that person didn't do it. But just like this whole, bombing of the Gaza hospital, I mean, the truth doesn't seem to matter. People believe what they want to believe. Oh, you made a threat against the president. No, I didn't. That was a voice clone. Oh, yes, you did. I heard it on the news. Well, Israel didn't bomb the hospital. That was a downed Palestinian missile. Oh, no, that doesn't matter anymore. It's really scary stuff. And it's a whole new realm of morality and responsibility. Where do we go? How does all of this work? We don't know. It's all very new and very exciting and incredibly super scary. Because the ability to hurt people and the ability to make things not what they are is going to be too tempting to some people. And this is where someone like Donald Trump, who's been saying, falsely for 2 years, everything's fake news, don't believe anything you read or see, that's probably going to be coming truer than we want it to be. Well, that's not my voice, that's a fake voice. I didn't say that. Someone made me say that. That wasn't me on television talking about that. That's somebody else. Oh, really? How are you going to prove it? I mean, Israel's proved that they didn't bomb the hospital. They have proof, they have conversation. Nobody cares. Oh, it's those Jews again. It's just really disappointing and really frustrating and very scary. Our Pixie Stitch friend says, we are going to need new laws set in place soon for AI because it's going to get crazy now that it's going to be easily accessible. That's very true, and it already is easily accessible, and the thing about the law is it's always behind. It doesn't catch up very quickly because technology doesn't wait for them to make a decision. Technology just keeps going. So the technology people keep working, and the law says all AI art is not copyrightable. Well, nobody cares about any of that because they're already going to create new art that isn't based on anything. So it is going to be copyrightable. So getting these laws in place is going to take a lot of work and a lot of time. And by the time the law is enacted, it's already going to be out of date because technology is not waiting. Well, we've had a wonderful time together. I thank you so much for being here. Tuesdays and Thursdays, generally, we're here at high noon Eastern, and we spend about an hour talking about things. And it's really fun when we have a new friend like Pixie Stitch to show up and have a nice chat about things. So thank you so much for being here. You can join our Discord server. It's discord.gg. I'll put it in the chat. Discord.gg /BOLES. And we talk about AI. We have AI art there. And we're also on Mastodon at Boles.xyz. You can go there. That's the main place we hang out now on social media because we're done with Facebook, we're done with Instagram, we're done with Twitter because they're all run by major corporations and they have no respect for people or privacy. When you're on Mastodon, you own your own world. So thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again. You now know where to find me. Take care and be well.